Hi Shanu, good evening. How are you?
I'm good, Manish. Same to you. Good evening.
Okay, so let's start the interview process, and I will just give a brief introduction about me. I have been managing this DevOps team for 8 years, so you can say, and here we are basically using the AWS cloud and the different DevOps skill set like the Terraform, the cloud formation, the Kubernetes, Docker, and other skill sets. Correct. So yeah, that's all. Just a brief about me, and yeah, can we go ahead with your introduction?
Yeah. Actually, it's really great to know about you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when it comes about myself, I'm Sonu Prasad, born and brought up in Hyderabad. So when it comes about my experience, I can say nearly I'm having 3 years of experience as a DevOps engineer. So in my DevOps, in my overall experience, I work with many tools. I work with Git, Docker, Kubernetes, as well as Jenkins and Ansible also, and we can say our uh, AWS services. Uh, I worked in two organizations. So in that morely, I used to work on some. I can say I worked on Docker. I worked on to provision AWS services. I've used in Terraform, and as we know, in my our projects, we were using Kubernetes for microservices. Even I was work with Kubernetes also, and to automate our process, all I've used Jenkins.
Okay, that's great. So you talked about the AWS part. So may I know what all AWS services have you used for your work?
I can say I've used VPC to create VPC and subnets instances and load balancer auto scaling S3, S3 Lambda even used, and RDS also used, and some and many more tools I can say,
Okay,
many more
that's,
services.
okay, that's great. So let's come to the S3. So just suppose that you have to restrict access to a specific object in your
Mhm.
S3 bucket, correct? For a specific user as well. So how will you set up
Yeah, yeah.
this?
Yeah, for that, to particularly to restrict any object, we can go to the S3 bucket policies. Through
Hmm.
that, we can restrict our objects. Like whatever objects there in S3 bucket, we can, through the help of S3 policies, we can restrict.
Okay. Let's talk about the second question. You have account A and account B, correct? Within
Yeah,
this
yeah.
account A, you have a running EC2 machine on which your data processing application is running. Fine.
Yeah, set up.
Now, this application has to read some of the data which are stored in
Mm,
AWS account B, correct?
mm,
So, how will you
mm.
set up this kind of flow for your application?
So account A and account B means two different accounts AWS.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, for that, just a minute.
You have this application running in AWS account A. Then
Mm,
you have this AWS account B where your S3 bucket is created, correct? And like you can think
mm,
of you have this application A running on AWS account A where on the EC2
mm,
machines. It's a web application,
mm,
correct? It's a kind of a website.
mm.
And this website
Yeah,
needs to show some of the icons, correct? Like if you have e-commerce, so there are multiple products, and these
yeah,
products need to
yeah.
have icon. These icons need to be fetched from a different AWS account where the icons are stored in S3 bucket. So how will you set up this
Mm.
flow?
So can we use AWS site-to-site VPN for that? If I'm not wrong, because I did not ever came across this scenario, so I'm not having much idea on it. You can
Okay, no
say.
issue. It's a cross account access issue actually. So you can
Yeah,
go with this IAM permissions.
cross account.
You can create one IAM role, and that
Mm,
role can be attached to your with your server. Like if you get into EC2 instance, you will see there is an option of modify IAM role. So with your server, you can attach one role, and that role will be having the permission to the different AWS account. Like ARN, we used to pass in the policies, correct? So
Acha,
that
acha, right. Role ARN, we can define that.
yeah, role ARN you can
Uh,
pass, and that particular
okay.
EC2 will have that
Mm,
access to get into different AWS account and get the objects
mm.
out of that. Correct.
So,
So
yeah.
yeah, that way you can set. Okay, in S3 only, like just suppose that you have multiple objects, thousand number of objects, correct? And
Mm,
you want to assign temporary access on a particular object for a user. Just you can think of
mm,
10 to 15 minutes. So what will
mm.
you do here?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, if I'm not wrong, we can use the predefined URL, right? Within that, we can give our like object access. So through that we can able to give for certain time to users access to access our private objects,
Yeah,
whatever it might be. It could be a
yeah,
files. Yeah.
that's true. Now, considering the same S3 service, I have a S3 bucket, correct? Where I have hosted this
Yeah.
static website. We have the concept of a
Yeah. Yeah.
static website hosting in S3,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
And
Right.
this S3 bucket is hosted in, you can think of AP South 1, Mumbai region, correct?
Oh.
Now I have to fetch the icons once again, correct? Now I'm not getting
Mm,
into a different AWS account, but I'm into the same AWS account. But now I have
mm,
to fetch the icons from a different bucket, which is located in Oregon. We do have this
mm,
buckets in the different region, correct? So
mm,
how will you set up this kind of activity? And like the second bucket also has enabled this static website hosting, correct? Both the buckets have
oh,
this static website hosting enabled. One bucket has this application running. Second bucket has also some kind of images. Now you have to fetch the image from second bucket, and the first bucket API, the first bucket application will be making API call to the second bucket. So how will you set up this activity?
like you mean to say like from this bucket we need to access other bucket.
Yeah, correct. In conclusion, you can say this.
So uh, so instead of we can use like multi cross region replication. With the help of that we can able to achieve this one, if I'm not wrong, because like we enable this one,
Mm-hmm.
we can able to access this in that particular region. We can use replication through, so from our data we can able to access from that
Yeah,
region.
yeah, multi-cross region like replication will help you if you want to replicate the same data, correct? It's the same
uh,
data which gets replicated. I'm not saying
uh,
that the data is in the S3 bucket A as well. The data, the
mm,
icons which I have to fetch, that is in second account. Sorry, second bucket, and I have to
second bucket.
yeah, and my application is running in bucket A, which is in a different region.
Mm,
You can say that it's A bucket which is running in region A. Now I have a second
mm,
bucket called as B, which is in region B, correct? Now I have to
mm.
make the communication between these two. Okay, no
Make
issue.
the communication.
So have you heard about this S3 CORS concept, cross origin resource sharing?
CORS.
Yeah.
No, no, actually I don't.
Okay, so you can go with the that particular property of S3 as well. S3 is CORS, which enables you the cross-region bucket communication. You can think of that way, correct?
Yeah,
So
cross.
that's another
So
yeah. Just like the web application, we used to set up this CRS concept for web application as well. Like if we have two different DNS, correct? DNS A and DNS B, and we have to make the
uh,
communication between these two DNS. So we used to set this cross-origin resource sharing policy, and there we used to
so,
give the like grant the access kind of thing. Which kind of method we want to implement? Like we are trying to implement the get method or put method or post method. That way you can
mm,
enable, correct?
okay, okay.
Okay, so you have worked with the Lambda function as well, correct?
Uh, Not much, but yeah, I can say about it.
Okay, so you have Lambda function in a AWS account A, correct?
Mm.
And this Lambda function is running your notification system or any application code it's running, correct? Now it has to,
Actually,
this you wanted to
yeah,
ask?
okay, okay, go ahead. No, no, go ahead. Later I will say.
Okay, so this Lambda function needs to communicate with the application which is running on a EC2, which is in second AWS
Mm,
account. I have a AWS account A where my
uh,
Lambda function is running, which has some code. Correct? It's executing that
mm,
code. Now this Lambda
mm,
function has to connect with the application which is running on EC2. This EC2 is in
mm,
AWS account B. So how will you set up
mm.
this different AWS account communication for the resources?
Yeah, yeah, we can say, yeah, just now beginning I have said like AWS uh, cross account connections, we can go through that. We can able to, through that we can able to achieve, I think. Because
AWS cross.
mostly I will,
Mhm.
uh, so, so just at the beginning you said, right? Exactly that thing I'm saying.
AWS cross account communication, correct? That's what you're saying.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
how will you set up this AWS cross account communication? Like there should be some property, there should be some way of
Yeah, like yeah, we need to first create any role or users, and we'll be defining our permissions in that by taking one lambda. Yeah, so for example, if you're using A account, we'll be taking their user ARN and adding into in that.
Mhm.
Through that, we can able to establish connection.
Okay. So the best answer for this will be like when you have to establish the communication between the different resources within the two AWS account, you can go with the VPC peering concept. So your Lambda function will be running within the VPC, correct? If you configure it, it will,
Yeah, right, sure.
yeah, it will be running within the VPC.
Yeah,
So subnets will be there,
yeah,
and your EC2 is also going to run in some VPC only. So here you need to establish the communication between two VPC. That way you can set up, correct?
yeah,
Yeah, let's move with the
right, right.
next. Yeah, let's move with the next question. Can you explain me the architecture of Kubernetes?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So in Kubernetes, we'll be having master node or control node and worker nodes. So equal to it's a cluster. So for example, so in Masternode we'll be having like a Kube API server, HCD, schedulers, and control manager. So when it comes about worker nodes, we'll be having like a kubelet, kube proxy, pod, and container runtime. So when it comes about Masternode, we as I say like API server. So API server is nothing but we can say it's a like main component in the cluster. Like whatever request is coming from kubectl, like that has to travel through the API server. And when it comes about HCD, we can say it's a kind of a database which stores the all configuration and API keys regarding the cluster. So we can say it's a database. And when it comes about a scheduler is nothing but it's mainly responsible to schedule pods, and it will check it'll check with nodes like it will check and like which node have sufficient resources. So there only it will schedule our pods. And control manager is nothing but it's mainly responsible for the to like it will keep your cluster and desired state equal. For example,
Okay,
if
okay. Yeah,
in the
yeah,
cluster.
got it. So, what all kind of services are available in this Kubernetes? Are you aware about the types of services?
Yeah. We having load balancer, we have a node port, cluster API. Like these are the services. It's mainly used to expose our application.
Okay. You are aware about this daemon sheet, deployment, stateful sheet, and all these components?
Demonstrate, I know, stateful set, I know.
Okay. So, just suppose that I have to ensure that whatever the nodes I have, correct? I have to
Mm,
scrape the data from these nodes. Like I'm running this file bit, you can say, or Dynatrace agent I have to run, correct? So I have to ensure this that whatever the nodes I do have, I have there should be one pod which will be running on all these nodes. So how will you ensure this kind of feature? Like
like you
My
meant to say,
Dynatrace agent should run on all these nodes. So what will you do?
yeah, we can go through the demonstrate.
Okay. Okay. So considering the second scenario, like I have this 10 number of pods, correct?
Yeah,
Out of these 10 number of pods, I want that my 5 pods should get scheduled on a specific nodes, not on the
yeah.
all nodes. Like I want to schedule it in some specific nodes. So how will you enable this
Yeah.
kind of feature in Kubernetes?
Yeah, we can go through the taint and tolerance concepts also. With the help of that, we can achieve this one. We can taint that 5 pods with tolerance, and we can taint our nodes also. So as we know, tainted nodes will be only accept tolerance pods, which have a tolerance pod that will be scheduled on the tainted nodes.
Okay. So uh, what is the use of namespace in Kubernetes?
Namespace is nothing but mainly used to create separate environments. Like within the cluster, we can create a dev prod. If you want to create any environments, at that time we can create a separate environments, dev prod test
Okay.
kind of things.
I have a
Is
yeah,
as sim-
yeah, yeah, got it. I have
is
a pod
yeah
A
is
running in namespace A, and I have a
uh,
second pod called as B, which is running in namespace B. Correct. I
uh,
have to establish the communication between these two pods. What I will do?
so to establish a communication between these two. So if
Yes.
I'm not wrong, through we can able to connect a cluster IP, I think.
Yeah, cluster IP.
Well,
Yes. Yes, yes.
Uh,
Now you have to stop the communication
there
between
is
these two.
stop the communication between two.
Yeah,
So at that time, we can go through the network policies. With the help of policies, we can achieve.
that's true. Okay.
Uh,
Moving forward. Do you know the difference between this secrets and config map? In which scenario we can use these?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So secret map is nothing but it's mainly used to store the sensitive data like database API, passwords, so these kind of things. When it comes about config, it's nothing but in config map we can store insensitive data like any configuration data or metadata of the cluster. This kind of things we can store it.
Yeah, got it.
So mainly we can say if okay.
Yeah. So even I can store the base 64 encoded, like secrets have this base 64
Yeah,
encoding, correct? So
yeah,
I can store
mm,
this base 64 encoded data in config map as well, correct? Then why should I use
mm.
secrets only? What benefits I can get? Or can I store this kind of data in config map as well?
So as you know, the data will be stored in sensitive that will be encoded format, right? 64
Yes,
you say.
yes.
Yeah,
The same data I can keep it in config map as well after encoding it in 64. Like we can encode our data in base 64 online as well, correct? And then we can keep
yeah.
it in then we can keep it in config map. What will be the issue? What extra feature we are getting through the secrets?
Might be like it would be not having any like other like the internal purpose we can easily connect, but external we might be not having anything.
Yeah,
Actually, I'm
okay.
not sure about this one.
Yeah, no, sure. So we do have this, we can have this fine access control on the secrets, like you can ensure the security of your data with the RBAC. You know the RBAC concept in Kubernetes, correct?
But yeah,
Role-based
yeah, I
access
know it.
controller. Then your AWS
Okay.
secrets provide the integration with the different AWS services as well, like Secret Manager and other services. So
Yeah, yeah,
there are other features as well, which you can read about the secrets and the config map. So
yeah.
correct. Okay, let's move with the Docker related things. So, can we delete any image which out of which my container is running?
No, no, no. Like if your container is already associated with any running container, we can't delete.
So, I was talking about the image. Can we delete the image from which my
No, no,
container?
no, no, no,
We
no, no. We
cannot.
can't delete image also.
We can't delete. Okay. So, is there any way to delete? If I want to delete,
Yeah,
yeah.
image. So like first we'll check whether a container, if it's running, yeah, it's not possible. So first of all, we need to stop the container. Then we can delete.
Okay. First, we will have to stop the container. Then we can delete. That's what you were saying, correct?
Yeah,
Okay. So we can delete actually. Forcefully, we can delete even if my container is running. That's the answer.
we can delete.
Yeah, we can delete the image out of which my container is running. Forcefully, we can delete. No, normally you won't be able to delete, but with the command,
Uh,
Docker command, you can delete it forcefully. That is possible.
yeah,
Yeah. So, uh, taking up the same question, if I have deleted this image, correct, and I
uh,
stop my container, which is running,
uh,
correct. Now I want to restart this container. Will my application get started once again, or how will it behave?
uh, I think no, because to run any container through image we will be creating containers. So I can say once the container has been started, I can say if I'm not sure, but I'm just guessing. Yeah, we can start. I think.
No, actually, you won't be able to start
No, no,
because
no.
yeah, because whenever
Yeah, right.
you
That image is not there.
yeah,
Sorry,
whenever
sorry, sorry. Yeah,
yes, yes,
I got it now.
yeah,
No, no. If
whenever
image is not there, how can I start? Yeah, sorry for that. Yeah,
yeah, if image is not there, because whenever you will restart, it will pull all the things from the image itself, so you won't be
yeah,
able to
yeah.
restart once you stop in between. Correct. Okay, so how will you troubleshoot this 401 error code or 403 error code, and what do you understand by this 401 error code and 403 in your Kubernetes or normally HTTP error code?
403, we can say it's our application error where we'll be like we need to check go through our application like what could be the internal error like might be that could be stopping any services external traffic to access our application. And 401 error I can say uh, even this is error regarding our application itself only because on 401 I'm not that much sure because
Okay, so both of these
Mm.
are related to your authentication and authorization. So if your
Yeah, yeah,
application does not have enough permissions, correct, either
yeah,
you
yeah.
are using
Mm.
pod identity concept or any other like role
Yeah, yeah.
permission
Mm.
is attached, and if it does not have access, it will throw you 403 or 401 error. So that you
Yeah,
can troubleshoot on your access related things, correct?
yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about Jenkins as well. So how will you trigger your Jenkins pipeline automatically?
From GitHub, so we can use webhook. So we having multiple triggers. So we for continuously integration, we can go through the webhook.
Okay, what do you understand by this multi-branch pipeline?
Multi-branch pipeline is the thing, but for example, in your Git repo, you have three branches and you want to run Jenkins file for three repos at the time, go through the multi-branch pipeline. So every branch will be running separate Jenkins file.
Okay, I have one question from AWS. Like, just suppose that I have my database is running AWS RDS instances, correct? And
Mm,
for my non-production databases, like there are production system, there are non-production system as well. For the
mm,
non-production databases, I want to save the cost. It's running 24 cross 7, correct? So
mm,
I want that whenever there is a night shift, correct? My developers are working in the
mm,
daytime only, 9 to 5 you can think of, and they are even not going to work on
mm.
Saturday and Sunday. So I have to save the cost of those non-production databases. So what kind of setup you can do?
So you mean to say like when there is no any like frequent access of the database, we need to uh
Yeah,
you want me to
in simple words, it's the kind of automation where you stop your database on Friday evening and you start your database on Monday morning.
yeah we can
Uh,
we can go through the front tab also. Front tab, yeah, we can to achieve this.
so where will you
So like
configure? Where will you configure this cron tab?
yeah, yeah, through that we can go create one with the help of Lambda function we can achieve this. We can write a one small code and with the help of that we can achieve this. For that
Yeah,
we need to write one code.
yeah, that's true. How do you manage a state file in Terraform?
So state file is Terraform. So actually we were using backend.tf, we will be storing our state file in S3 and we will be using DynamoDB to log the state file.
Okay, I have to keep the different environments state file, correct? So I have this production
Yeah,
environment, I have this staging environment, I have this dev environment as well. I have to keep the state file for each and every environment. So can you explain me directly
you can
how will you organize this state file, or will you keep the same
yeah,
state file for all the environments?
yeah. Actually, to achieve this in Terraform, we have a concept called workspace. So, within the same directory, we can create multiple workspaces for dev
Mhm.
prod test, and each and every workspace will create their own state file. And so, through that, with the help of workspace, we can create separate state files.
Okay. Now I have to provision 5 identical EC2 machines in AWS account.
Uh, yeah,
So how will you provision?
like we can go through the count and for this concept. With the help
Okay.
of this, we can achieve. If you want to create dynamically, we can go through it.
Okay. I have created VPC manually, correct? And now I want to create this Lambda function. In the Lambda function, I need to pass this VPC ID, correct? I don't want to pass it manually. So what kind of setup I can do in Terraform?
So, can you come again, please? I was like little.
Yeah, no issue. I have a VPC created manually in my AWS account, correct?
Mm,
Now I have to run my Terraform script to create this Lambda function. And this Lambda function needs
mm,
to be a part of VPC, correct? That means it should be having
mm,
association with VPC. I don't want to
mm,
pass VPC ID manually in my Terraform script where I'm going to create this Lambda function. So what kind of
mm.
setup you can do to pass the VPC ID at runtime?
So you mean to say you don't want to call that VPC resource in your Terraform environment, right?
Yeah,
Like or
let me explain the question once again. So I have AWS account A, correct?
mm,
In this
mm,
account, I went through my admin access. I have created this AWS account, or just suppose that your manager has created your AWS VPC, correct?
mm,
He has told you the name of the VPC,
mm.
that it is called as
Yeah,
demo underscore VPC. Now you have to
yeah,
write a
yeah.
Terraform script to create the Lambda function. This
Ah,
Lambda function will have the some input for VPC ID. Now
Yeah, yeah.
you need to pass the VPC ID here at runtime. You do not have access to get into the AWS console, get the VPC ID. You just know the name of the
Uh,
VPC.
uh, yeah, through that we can use a data block to fetch our existing data, which have been
Yeah,
created in AWS environment manually. So we can go through AWS data. Sorry, AWS data block.
yeah, that's true. So have you used dynamic block in the Terraform?
Yeah, to create ingresses. As we know, so instead of like writing ingress block for multiple ports, so we can directly define in one ingress. So directly instead of writing all ingress blocks, we can define just port numbers in one line by using dynamic block.
Okay. What is pre-hook in Ansible playbooks?
Ansible player.
Yeah.
Actually, I did not much use it because I've used I'm not sure, sorry.
Okay, no issue. So how will you increase disk space on your Linux server?
Disk space.
Yeah. Like you have this EC2 machine launched, correct? The Linux server itself.
Mm,
And on this for storage, you integrate with EBS, correct? Elastic Block Storage. That is
yeah, yeah,
provided by the AWS itself. Now you see this disk related issues, and you have to increase the disk space, correct? So how will you increase this disk space on your Linux server?
from Linux, you mean to say? From Linux,
You have one EC2
like,
machine which is having the operating system as Linux, correct? Linux server.
uh,
You are running. Just suppose that
yeah, understood. I understood. You want to say our resources are it's going out of
correct.
OAM, we can say, out of memory, but yeah, I need to start. You mean to say by giving command or by manually,
Anyway, the
by going manually, we can increase.
how will you do it manually?
So I'll go to the instance. I will in EBS volume. I can from increase the GP1 to GP3 like this volume. Sorry.
So actually, if you do in this way, it will not
Uh,
actually increase your disk space. It will like if you increase this disk space from 8 GB to 10 GB or 20 GB, it will not get
uh,
implemented in actual. So that concept you can learn about how can you
uh,
increase the disk space on your Linux server. Correct. How can
okay.
you troubleshoot your Linux server which has a slow performance, like you are running your application or you are running your some of the commands, and you are
Uh,
experiencing that your Linux server is not responding in a good way, like having slow performance. So how will you troubleshoot this? And what all commands will
so
you use to troubleshoot?
so first of all, I'll go with some commands. I'll go with top command to check like which process is consuming lots of resources. I'll check and I'll try to check like if there is an unnecessary files or something. I'll delete those all and I'll check with disk spaces, DFI, FNH, and if I'm consuming like if there are any like directories which are unnecessarily using some extra files or so we can say consuming lots of resources. I'll check particular DUF and SH command by checking file system what we say directories consumption like storage consumptions. So like through this command, I will understand like what is the main cause of that.
Okay. How do you manage this versioning for your application code? Like you might be using this version control system, GitHub, GitLab, something, correct? So
Yeah, yeah.
how do you manage the different versions of your application code?
It is short code. They will be storing in Git, but while pushing, we will tag.
Okay. So you used to
Mm.
tag your codes, correct? That's what you mentioned.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I have to edit a tag, correct? Like I have pushed some code today and I found some
Mm,
issues with that. So I made
mm,
modification in my code, correct?
mm,
And now I have
mm,
to push it again. So
mm.
how will I edit this tag and push my code changes?
So like we can like first of all we can like we need to take into our like working directory in Git, and we'll be like we'll be going in that and we'll be edit manually and push it again.
Okay, so you said that we can get into that tag, we can edit it, and we can push our code
Mm,
changes. Correct?
yeah. Mm.
Okay. Actually, we cannot edit the tag. So a tag is kind of immutable. You can think of. So we cannot
Okay.
edit any tag. Either we can delete or we can create a new tag. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So how do you manage a hotfix release? Like the same bug you have been reported, correct? I have posted some code
Uh,
changes that has been deployed, and after deployment, you see that there's just some issue, and for that I have to provide the hotfix, like the more number
yeah,
line,
hot.
more line of code.
Yeah, yeah.
So how will
Okay.
you? What kind of process will you follow to deploy this hotfix?
So actually, I did not work on this kind of scenarios.
Okay,
Mostly that is if I get okay.
yeah, no sure. Have you set up any
Uh,
monitoring or have you worked with any monitoring tool?
yeah, from Prometheus, Grafana,
Okay, so
or
how do
alerts
you,
manager. Yeah.
uh, can you explain me in a brief, like how have you set up this Grafana tool? What kind of monitoring you are
So
doing? Yeah.
yeah, through Helm, I've installed our Prometheus and I started Prometheus. So, like after through Helm itself only, I've installed Prometheus and Grafana, and I've accessed like later Grafana install. I've been activated Prometheus, and once it's been started, and we'll start taking data from our application, and we can go and Grafana. We can check our final visualization of your application.
Okay. How will you troubleshoot any pod issues? Like you have deployed your application, correct? And you are
Yeah,
seeing the error like image pullback off, or you can say that it's crash loop kind of error. So how will you troubleshoot all these kind of errors which are coming against your pod?
yeah, first of all, whenever we get this kind of error, first of all, we'll check the logs and events. First, we'll use kubectl logs for them. Later, we can use the describe command, kubectl describe command. So by checking this, we'll get to know the error. So mostly image pullback of error is nothing, but it's mainly occurs because we will be defining incorrect name or tag of the image. Then so like we'll be getting this error. When it comes about crash loop back of error, like there could be a multiple reasons, like because of some OEM, or like there could be a reason OEM out of memory, or there could be some like a crash loop back of error like missing like configuration details in your YAML file, or you can say in your image also. There could be multiple reasons. By seeing logs, we need to understand.
Okay. So
Uh,
on my Linux server, I have to check what all files are consuming high disk spaces on a particular directory. Correct? Like there might be a directory called A, and I have to check that how which all files are consuming higher disk space on this particular directory. What command can you use?
direct Directories. We can
Yes.
use dufnsh directory.
Yeah. After using the star, it will give you all the files which are consuming. Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
D
can define
hyphen.
star to
Yeah.
that.
Okay. So, are you aware about this Jenkins agents as well?
Yeah, master and list concepts agents, right?
Okay, so if I have to run this different slaves for the different, you can say this the environment, correct? You are deploying this production,
Mhm.
you are deploying your staging in the QA environment, correct? So how will you ensure that different
Mhm.
slaves are coming up for the different environment? Like you need to save the cost for QA or for the test. You can run a server which is having less configure,
So
like
like
yeah, low instance class. You can say T2 micro, T3 medium, and for production you want to run the slave, which is having C5.x large or those kind of Jenkins server.
uh,
So
so you mean to say we need to run at a time everything, or at a time, or one by one,
one by one, like
like from master.
if I'm
Yeah,
running,
from master.
mhm.
Tell me.
So you can think of like I have to run the different slaves for the different branches.
Yeah, yeah. In master itself, in agent any, we can call labels. Through that, we can run, right?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to ask.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I think I'm good with the interview. You want to ask anything?
So like, I just wanted to my feedback, like where I can improve myself. I can know. I after giving interview, I feel like I need to improve on AWS, like because I did not ever came